Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the NFL Quick Talk Podcast. If you haven't already, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify. We're going to get right into it here. I'm going to preview the conference championship games, and in doing so, go back to each of the divisional round games. Starting off in the AFC with the winner moving on to the Super Bowl, the Chiefs visiting the Ravens. Game will be played in Baltimore, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, CBS. Baltimore is favored by 3.5 points. Now, if we go back, we're just going to go back here and set this game up with the Bills losing to the Chiefs on not a last second field goal, but it was the game deciding play. And you have to give credit to the Chiefs forcing the Bills. The Bills were just marching on down the field, and they put the clamps on them in the red zone, forced them out of the red zone, and forced a 45-yard field goal in tough weather conditions. People say, "Oh, it's just a fluke that Tyler Bass missed that field goal." And if I'm going to be honest with you, yes, he should have made that. But if you look at the weather conditions that he was playing in, sorry, I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here. But if you look at the weather conditions that he was playing in, those were not ideal for kicking at all. Granted, he should have made that field goal, but it was a way tougher kick than people give him credit for. Nevertheless, the Chiefs played an excellent game. The issues that were haunting them all season that people were giving them crap for, the drop passes, the turnovers, the interceptions and fumbles, those were all cleaned up. You didn't see one drop pass. There might have been one or two when I wasn't looking, but those probably weren't that relevant at all. You did have the one fluky fumble through the end zone, and I did hear some substantial chatter that rule will be re-examined and redone so that it doesn't give the ball back to the defense on that. It's a fluky play, a fluky rule if you saw it. I don't want to explain it any further, but that was our one turnover of the game. Not really any drop passes, and Mahomes played like he needed to be. He's going to have to step up versus the Ravens, but they really are leaning hard on this rushing attack. Isaiah Pacheco went for 97 yards on 15 carries, which is a very good average. Obviously, you have Travis Kelce doing wonders. Even had MVS going off. Marcus Valdes-Scantling, 2 receptions for 62 yards, which was honestly one of the one catch that he made later in the game. I couldn't believe that he caught it of all people. And now they have some wide receivers working because Rashee Rice played an excellent game versus the Dolphins. You have Marcus Valdes-Scantling doing great here. You always have Travis Kelce doing great things. So I think the Chiefs are set up in a pretty darn good position. But you look at this other game, it was tied at 10 versus the Texans playing the Ravens. And I really thought to myself, man, are the Texans going to pull this one out? Are they going to go to the championship round when no one expected them to? But yeah, Baltimore put the clamps on them. I mean, Houston didn't have anything on offense. C.J. Stroud had 175 yards passing on 33 attempts. Devin Singletary was their rushing leader, and he had 22 yards. I mean, they didn't have a single offensive touchdown. Their only offensive points were 3 points, a field goal in the first quarter. The touchdown was a 67-yard punt return, which was a great punt return by Steven Sims. He should be stay on that roster. He's kind of bounced around. But the Ravens just completely shut down C.J. Stroud, and their offense just went off. I know that the Texans' defense isn't that great. They got a lot of young players that have room to grow. But this really sets up an interesting matchup with Baltimore favored. And you have this very interesting stat. Patrick Mahomes is 13-3 in 16 postseason games, throwing for over 4,500 yards and 38 total touchdowns. I mean, he's just played. He's a different animal in the postseason. And people say, no, he's just great all around. I'd argue that he is maybe one of the best players of all time when it comes to playoff Pat. And he's going to have to go to Baltimore. That's a very, very raucous crowd out there in Baltimore. They got a lot of things working for him out there. And it's the Bills' atmosphere is unlike no other. I'm not going to diss them for it. But this sets up a really interesting game where you have two very good defenses, two very good rushing attacks, and I think the Patrick Mahomes is going to bring out the best in Lamar Jackson. Lamar heard all the hate that he was getting because he'd only won one playoff game in 4 appearances, and he put that on his shoulders, and it bring out the best in him. I think that Patrick Mahomes is going to bring out the best in Lamar Jackson, and I will take Kansas City plus 3.5. Sorry, I forgot the line there for a second. I will take them plus 3.5, but it's very tough for me to say that the Chiefs win outright. I think this comes down to a last-second field goal. This game's going to be decided by 1 or 2 points. It's going to be a little bit more high-scoring than people think. I'm going to take the Ravens to win 27-26 in that realm, 27-24 in that realm. I think the Ravens move on to the Super Bowl. And move on to this Lions-Niners game. The Lions-Buccaneers was one of the best playoff games that I watched. And I think it would be number 2 in my opinion. Then you have the 49ers coming off of a game where they did not play very well. Brock Purdy was the reason that they almost lost that game. Brock Purdy gets a lot of love, but he missed a lot of easy throws, man. He missed a lot of easy throws. Their defense was a little bit softer than usual. And, the Packers are a very good team. They're going to be back here next year in this divisional round, I can guarantee you. Maybe even conference championship. I will have preseason predictions coming out later in the offseason, but that's for a later time. So, previewing this game, you have San Francisco playing at home and a 7-point spread. I'm taking Detroit to cover that spread. I mean, that is too big of a spread. Like I said, for the Packers-49ers game, the 49ers were 9-point favorites going into this game. It was too big of a spread. So, I'm taking the Lions here to cover. But I think the game being played in San Francisco does have something to say. And, Brock Purdy missed some easy throws. And Deebo Samuel is 50-50 for this game. We still don't have any word on Deebo Samuel. If he does not play, I'm picking Detroit outright. Deebo Samuel is that missing piece in there. I read a stat. They're like 1-5 without him. And I think Deebo is that much of a difference. And Detroit plays that good that they'll be able to keep within, I think, 3 or 4 points. And if the 49ers don't have Deebo, I think at the very, very least, Detroit's going to cover the spread. In actuality, it's going to be like a 1-point game without Deebo. I think Deebo Samuel is one of the binding forces of that team. And so I'm not going to pick an outright winner just off of one take. If Deebo plays, I'm going to take San Francisco by 5 to 6 points. If Deebo does not play, I'm taking Detroit by 1 or 2 points. Simple as that. All right. Thank you so much for listening. If you've listened all the way this far, excuse me, like the video, comment down below who you think is going to win and by what score. Subscribe to the channel and go check out my community posts. I post a lot of polls, a lot of quizzes. I post on there pretty regularly, and games like this, I'll put up a poll. We've been attracting a number of votes recently. It's really fun over there. Go check it out, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.